Hi, I'm Bill Reed, and I've had a fascinating interest in Bitcoin lately. A lot of this is stemming from the fact that you're hearing people saying that, oh, just buy a Bitcoin now, it's $22,500, and in 10 years you're going to have $1 million you can retire on it. And obviously this is very attractive because, most retirement plans, you'll save money for 40 years and you can generally hope to maybe 4x your investment money. I mean, that's kind of how it goes. My daughter went to college and we saved up money for her during her school years. We started when she was 1 year old, so we saved for about 16 years, starting with $2,500 and then putting in $160 each of my paychecks, and I got paid every 2 weeks. So that amount of money that was put in was about $69,000. And when she was about 2 years out from going to school, I didn't want the stock market exposure because I had 100% of the money invested in equities. So I pulled it all out, put in an interest fund, but we had saved up $140,000 for school. So you're looking at 2 times, a little bit better maybe, but yeah. And so this is typically the kind of thing you're looking at. So if you want to have $1 million for retirement, you probably will have to save $250,000 or invest $250,000 cash during your working lifetime. So yeah, it's extremely attractive if you could get the same job done for $25,000, which is what people are claiming Bitcoin will do for you. So yeah, I've just decided to see, is this really realistic? And here's some of the things I've looked at. My first effort at this was to try to model it, and taking all the historic data, and I used something called a logistic growth model. And what I'll show here is actually a pretty good representation. This is not my model. This is from Plan B on Twitter, where you see the colored dots going straight up, and then it finally levels off at the top. And of course, he's saying it's going to go up to $10 million with his Bitcoin adoption S-curve. So anyway, what I did was I went ahead and fit just the historic data. The historic data I have is only monthly resolved, so it's not getting all the volatility. And so this is the kind of fit I get. And of course, the end result's pretty radically different, because my model is saying that the leveling out price should be about $36,000 a coin. That's in today's dollars. When you run this into the future, if I assume 5% inflation each year, it will go up by 5% each year. So, anyway, to kind of get some check on what this model is reasonable or not, I went ahead and decided to put the stop date. My model runs from 2012 up to 2023 of February, but I went ahead and decided to put the different stop dates at different times just to see how stable the value is. This is kind of a test whether the historic data is extracting this leveling out price. And there's quite a bit of variation depending on which date you use. And so if I start at 2019, you're looking at 26,000, 24,000 for July. Then there's a real instability happens on 2020 in January, because there sort of was a little mini bull market that happened around that time that really kind of fucked up my model, actually. So that date, it just did not fit well. But then after that, it starts to settle down. We're looking at 52,000 if you go July 2020, and then as you can see, 27,000. Now, if we stop the model at the top of the bull market in 2021, where Bitcoin hit $69,000, the model is saying it would level out, around 70, a little bit above that. And then as you go forward, when we when the prices came down, you're looking at $36,000. So there you have it. And on the Bitcoin adoption model, I overlaid my model, and of course you can see the predictions are pretty radically different. So anyway, so I thought, okay, is there any kind of sanity checks you can put on this? So this is what I thought. Okay, let's say we have a Bitcoin retirement plan where one Bitcoin is going to become $1 million in 10 years. This is something that's been often said. So let's say 100 million Americans invest $22,500 cash today, all each buying one Bitcoin. This would actually bring in $2.25 trillion into the Bitcoin market. And let's say 10 years is 20 million Bitcoins available. So if you take the Bitcoin price would be 2.25 trillion plus the 400 billion that's in the capitalization now, divided by 20 million, and you come up with $112,500 for a Bitcoin. Now, of course, people say, well, it's a global asset. So, and the USA has 31% of the global wealth. So if we globalize this, you can multiply a number by about 3, you can come up with 362,903. So yeah, that's quite a bit more than what my model is saying, but I don't know. So the likelihood of people just, all these people going ahead and, well, you're talking about 300,000 people, I guess, globally. No, sorry, 300 million people globally, or a bit more, all at once investing $22,500 into an asset. Seems kind of, I don't know, unlikely to me, but anyway. But here's an interesting thought. Let's look at gold. People like to compare Bitcoin to gold. And up until about the early 1970s, gold basically wasn't an investment because it was tagged to the US dollar, and the government pretty much regulated what an ounce of gold would be worth. And, I believe it was, I guess at the turn of the century, it was like maybe $21. Then I think during Franklin Roosevelt, it was put up to $32, and then I think it went up to $35. But then when Nixon was around, I think it was the last ditch effort to save the pegging of gold to dollar to gold was about 42, and then it was released. So in a sense, at that point, it was really kind of a new investment asset. And like Bitcoin, it really took off. And in January of 1980, it hit $875. That was clearly a bubble, as the price did not get to that high until like January of 2008. And if you were to inflation adjust that $875, it would really be like $2,607 today, and that price has yet to be reached. So, a word of caution is that, yes, Bitcoin hit $69,000 in the middle of 2021. Yes, it could get there again, but it could also be a bubble that may take decades to get to that again. It's possible. And I really would love to discuss these ideas with someone who's knowledgeable about this and see what I'm missing here. I guess for me, the hang up I have about Bitcoin, I guess, having all this value and wealth is that it all seems to be kind of a zero-sum game. This is kind of how I've modeled it. It's not like a company that's creating wealth and new technology. Yes, it's a technology, but it's going to be the same 100 years from now as it is today. And there's also lots of other cryptocurrencies that seem to do it just as well, or maybe even better, for what people tell me. So, it all seems like a zero-sum game to me. It's all a matter of finding a buyer that's willing to pay more than what you paid for that coin, or you're just accepting a loss so you can move your money somewhere else, so someone else benefits from it. So anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. It is interesting to me. Anyway, so, and peace.